IRL. I'm here with Justin from Alandia. I'm stoked to get to talk to you. I love Alandia and I want to know all about it. But I want to know kind of, how you ended up here in the first place and what got you wanting to build on Algo.
Absolutely. Just a brief overview of my crypto experience. I kind of started in 2017, right before everything blew up at BTC. Bitcoin was, first starting to try to hit 20,000 USD. Things obviously fell apart, as most of the people in crypto know, and kind of took a long break from it. And then, got interested again about a year ago, a little over a year. And, ended up going to our cryptocurrency to figure out what was going on with crypto these days. Because obviously 2017 is very vastly different from 2021, right? And there was a thread on there that was, what was your top 3 cryptocurrencies? And what I ended up doing, I went in there and people were, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, but there was a surprising amount of people saying, Algo is one of their top projects that they're working. So that got me interested. Looked into it. I knew, even though I'd taken a long break, I knew the gas prices were an issue with Ethereum. I knew that Bitcoin was slow. And so I looked at, Algorand, and obviously its fees are very low. It's quick, really quick. And there was a really interesting community around it. And I also, started looking at NFTs around that time because obviously that was, NFT summer. And got completely lucky by finding Stitch and his Yieldlings project about 3 days before the first Mingo Shuffle. And, it's kind of been a love affair since then. So that's how I ended up with Algorand. And, the community is super tight knit. People are super friendly, open, helpful, and, it just kind of kept me in this ecosystem. So here I am today building and running Alandia, along with everything else I have to do.
I remember thinking last fall or last winter, that this had to be possible. And then you just up and built it pretty much by yourself. As far as I know, you're a one-man team.
I am a one-man team. It is it's my baby, so I get to control how things are done. It's a lot of work for one person, so hopefully it doesn't stay that way for forever. But yeah, it's been a one-man show for now.
Now, in real life, I'm guessing you have some technical prowess to be able to birth Alandia into existence. What do you do in your not spare time while you're at the fiat mines?
Yeah, so I've been a developer since 2009. So I've got a little experience. I've run a software team very much in IT and tech. So that's, bringing that kind of Web 2 experience to Web 3 is how I was able to get up and running quickly. But also how I ended up with a password on Alandia that I don't like and wish I could get rid of easily.
But you do a cool, I will give you this, as someone who has repeatedly locked myself out, because that's what you get for having a username and password.
Yeah, exactly.
Have streamlined that process to the point where it's kind of fun to reset my password. It's neat because you use the blockchain to verify the identity. So I can't hate on it too much. It's pretty streamlined.
I was extremely paranoid when I made that when I had the password requirement first built. So I was, I had gone to another Algorand, another site in Algorand, and had basically kind of faked the call to my algo, and with not like in a way that I could do anything, but with somebody else's wallet, right? Because all my algo does is return a wallet. Right. And so I faked that call, made the app think I just logged in with my algo, and all of a sudden I can see everything in that site as that wallet. Can't do anything because you still have to sign transactions, right? And I don't know their seed phrase. I don't know their anything. So it just makes it look like, and that's what got me super paranoid. But then, yeah, you're right. The making that reset feature, which I had to have because people were forgetting their password, right? And using it through the blockchain was kind of fun. Yeah, I like that.
I like it too. I if you make it so that it's cool to reset it, and like I said, I don't like username and passwords, but I have reset occasions with your my algo integration, and it's super cool. That the blockchain, I'm able to verify my identity via blockchain. So for people who don't know, Alandia is a way to make your illiquid NFTs liquid, right? You can leverage your NFTs to acquire peer-to-peer loans. Right?
That's right. That's exactly right. So you've got, an NFT and you want, obviously you want to hold on to that Mingo, or you want to hold on to that Goanna. That's where Alandia comes in. And I like the fact that we're using peer-to-peer loans, so Alandia doesn't do any of the actual lending. We simply kind of provide a service to, connect potential borrowers with potential lenders. And yes, it's very NFT heavy. You can actually, though, you can go ahead and you could lend or borrow against really any Algorand standard asset. So you could borrow against an Opal stack. You could borrow against G.algo. You could borrow against Shrimp if you wanted to. In fact, we just had a loan that popped into Alandia the other day that Shrimp was a 5K Shrimp was the collateral. So it's an interesting way to get, Algorand, and then go play around in the the larger Algorand DeFi ecosystem if you wanted to, or buy that drop that's coming, right? The MIAs by Gecko Fam or Goannas, whatever. It gives people a way to do that. So it's it's a really interesting combination between NFTs and DeFi.
It's exactly why I love it, for the record, is
Mhm.
that it's no big bank's money. It's no VC's money. It's
Yeah.
and community support. And you haven't worked, so I've been following Alandia since it launched, but I missed the shrimp basket. So if I own, like you said, shrimp or grub or maybe like a membership card to something, I could leverage that out. But you also
Absolutely.
can do more than one, right? So like my favorite thing is getting a package deal, right?
Yeah.
So there might be a poof and a hoot and an algobot or something in a package, and those are the ones that I like to lend on because I feel like I'm spreading my risk a little bit. Um,
Yeah, for sure. You can put in up to 5 different assets, right? 5 different assets, NFTs, tokens, whatever you want, into a lending or a borrowing package, and then borrow against that. Now, that's 5 different assets that can be in there, but you could have a billion of one of a token that you put in there. So it can, it stack up pretty quick. They can be pretty large packages, but yeah, it's anywhere from 1 to 5 assets on Algorand. It gets a little tricky if your asset is backed by, say, a smart contract, but for the most part, you put basically any asset from Algorand in those packages.
well, basically, you could effectively rent your NFT then, or your NFD once that integration is available. Um,
So that's a little different because so you can use basically anything as collateral, right? But I only allow a specific set of assets that can actually be lent, right? So like right now you can do Algorand, USDC, Shrimp, um, and G.algo, right? So those are a hard coded or a list of ones that you can actually borrow set by me, and that's specifically so that these projects like NFT that have really it would be an interesting integration to bring them in so there's no issues there, but eventually that's the goal. Is it would be nice if you could lend out an NFT, especially as like gaming, decentralized gaming or whatever gets bigger and bigger. It provides a really good opportunity, like say Alchemon, right? If you wanted to lend out, say you had some super awesome Alchemon, you could lend that out, and eventually I'd like to get to that spot.
yeah, or like I'm thinking some of the larger price point NFTs, like Iguana, a version 1 Iguana. I would
Mhm.
love to see what the holders chat looks like, but making that without knowing, and it would be cool to be able to rent, pay instead of lending algo and using the guana as collateral, but maybe like you said, kind of go with it. That would be really cool. So one of the integrations that you do have now, which I think is really cool and I've watched develop, is the ability to kind of have a back and forth, right?
Yeah, it's super helpful to those borrowers and lenders who are trying to come to, meet in the middle on what a good loan package looks like, right? Because, a borrower is going to come in, they're going to say, I want max algo that I can get for, this set of NFTs. And a lender is going to come in, obviously they're going to want to over collateralize their loan. So they're not going to offer you, 5,000 algo for your, floor level go on or whatever you end up having. And so that communication channel, being able to update on the lender side, being able to update your offer, allows there's some back and forth, just like you said. And I think it's a good experience for both the borrowers and the lenders. I've got obviously when I added that feature, I got some pretty good feedback about how helpful that was. So.
It definitely eased my comfort level.
Hmm.
Um, hard to keep track of what. Obviously, we have other tools like Acylytic now that help people kind of gauge sales and look at sales by traits. That's all very helpful, but yeah, as a lender, right? You never want to pay sticker, and
Yeah, that's right.
it goes both ways. So having that little bit of room to go back and forth, there's messaging built in, and then once you, let's say there, I want to talk a little bit about how it works, but let's say there is a loan, right? They want 300 algo for this NFT for a month at 8 to 10%. I feel like is pretty common, is what,
Hmm.
what I've been seeing anyways.
Yep.
I can say, yeah, I want to do that, but that doesn't automatically, it's not sold that minute, right? They have to accept that, and then I have to disperse that. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to change your mind, or like, I feel like I like the back and forth and the, okay, yes, they want the offer, I'll disperse it then, since we're all on the same page. It seems like there's a lot of opportunities to check for understanding, which I like in the DeFi
Yeah,
space.
absolutely. 'Cause, it's kind of a big step to lock up your NFTs into an escrow contract for 30 days, or to likewise shoot somebody, 5,000 Algorand, that they were probably not going to repay for at least a couple of weeks, right? So it's kind of a big deal, and I think it's important that you get that kind of back and forth, and then on top of that, just as like you said, that ability to say, here, change my mind, or or whatever. Like you're the lender and you want, I don't know, say like a big central exchange explodes and the price goes down and you want to change the lending terms, or the borrower gets cold feet or whatever. Like you said, there's a lot of opportunity there to renegotiate or just cancel the deal, altogether. Because, one of the nice things is that once you've accepted an offer on the borrowing side, so until you get those loan funds dispersed, you can cancel at any time. Um, so yeah, it gives those, hopefully gives people a kind of warm and fuzzy as they go through this process and maybe use Alandia for the first time.
Yeah, it's definitely a more customized, comfy feel to be able to
Mhm.
act with it and not just buy these loans off the shelf. I feel like traditional finance, you want a loan, you might be able to shop rates a little bit, but you definitely don't get that back and forth.
No.
Um,
Yep.
Definitely full offers. So like if I'm looking to borrow, I can keep open offers open for a week if I want. I it's kind of on my terms, and I like that as well. You have options. It's not just one centralized bank saying, yes, we'll lend on that. This is how much. You might get 3 or 4 or 5 people that all say, I'm interested in lending on this package. Here's what I could do. And you can accept multiple offers.
Hmm. Yeah, and I try to keep, Landia tries to stay out of these decisions as much as as much as I can. There's platforms like mine out in different, other chains or whatever that, have whitelists of which projects that you can lend against or borrow against, excuse me. And that's something that I didn't want to do, and you can see that, and that you can put pretty much anything you want up there. And it's a very hands-off kind of approach that Landia does, and I like that. I like the whole peer-to-peer kind of lending, hands-off, very decentralized kind of approach to lending. So
The parties in the loan decide the terms, and it moves on their pace.
that's right.
And huge and a far stretch from a third party saying, okay, well, you guys can lend to each other, but it's off of these rules that we set the rules for the game. I really like that with Atlantia, it's just the two parties involved that are making the rules.
Mhm.
Like, I think that's important.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like the different steps. So if I see a loan package I want to lend on, I can make an offer. They can accept it, not accept it. We can renegotiate it. There's messaging, so you can go back and forth. And then once they're like, yeah, that is a loan I would take, I can choose to disperse the funds, right? Like you said, that's kind of the point where which everything gets locked into an escrow. I'm glad that there's a third party kind of trust. It's like a trust buddy, a silent trust buddy. He just
That's
holds up.
right. That's the beauty of escrows, right? Is it's controlled, and again, that's kind of what DeFi is built on, right? Is that smart contract that operates independently without any control by a centralized entity or whatever, right? So as long as you're repaying, or it's getting dispersed, or loan funds are being sent, it's all controlled by a computer program that has no bias, that has no input. It just knows its rules about repayments and things like that, and it goes off that. And then it's between two people, and it's kind of, Alandia is not really involved at that point. Alandia
But
is more of a front end for these loans.
right, it's not autonomous though. Like I decide when to disperse my funds. I don't just say, oh,
Right.
I'm willing to do this, and it automatically disperses I choose when to disperse my funds.
Yeah.
Similarly, I choose when to foreclose the loan if they don't pay.
That's
I
right. That's a good point. Yeah.
can give you a day or two longer if I feel so inclined.
And again, that's where that messaging kind of system comes in, right? The borrower can reach out to the lender and say, "Hey, I'm not going to make this date. Can you give me another 4 days or something like that?" Right? And so it's again a more personalized experience with those two parties being able to do what they want, right?
Yeah, it's not a rigid experience. I really
Yep.
appreciate that. If I'm lending with my money, I should be able to decide when I foreclose on the loan or when first payments. And sometimes it can be a little intimidating with smart contracts and exploits we see on some exchanges where smart contracts are involved that things are automatic, right? And it can be a little intimidating for somebody just starting out. So I like that I push the buttons. I decide when to foreclose or when to pay it back or when to disperse the original loan funds. I just think it's a really powerful tool. How
Sure.
long live? Almost a year? 10 months?
Uh, yeah, something like that. March will be a year. Alandia launched on March 30th of this year, so it doesn't feel like it's been a year, but it certainly has.
And what, I mean, I'm not asking for alpha. I don't like deadlines, but what's next for Atlanta? What do you see happening with the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, my head's full of ideas, right? Um, there's all kinds of improvements that can be made. Get rid of passwords, right? I really want to in the future be as decentralized as possible, while still maintaining some security so that users can obviously feel protected when they go to do this stuff. So, more decentralization, um, just more features, maybe some more tools to help people, figure out, well, is this price for this, package? Is it good, right? Or, what's just more tools to help these kind of loans come together, right? And then you look out into the far future. And I've already posted this on Twitter, but I want to take this peer-to-peer loan concept a little further, and maybe have the ability for somebody that's, say, in the Cardano ecosystem, say, hey, I'm going to borrow against my Cardano NFT because I want to play around in Algo, but I don't want to, I don't want to get rid of my NFT. So, these kind of cross-chain peer-to-peer lending opportunities is where I really want to go. I posted about on Twitter a few weeks ago, and that's kind of quietly taking place in the background. It's going to be a long road, but that's the future of Alandia. Hopefully, getting some more liquidity into the Algorand ecosystem and making it easier for people to come here, instead of having to, say, invest another paycheck or something to buy Algorand to play around.
I think it would be cool to see a market, not a marketplace for NFTs, but a marketplace for the debts and collaterals. So if somebody took a loan and they need out, right? Like I lent you 1,000 algo for a month. It's 2 weeks later. I really need it because Hands is dropping something fat. It's a buddy man decided to drop extra doofies unannounced. Right? I could then go sell that debt to someone else to get.
Mhm.
I think that would be kind of like a cool extension from the peer to peer.
There's all sorts of really cool things, really cool applications that I think are possible within cryptocurrency and DeFi and lending and this peer-to-peer thing. But yeah, it's always fun talking to the people that use Alandia like yourself. That an idea where you can unload the loans that you've taken on. It's super interesting.
Be interesting, and I think it might appeal to someone if they, let's say, like taking long loans versus short loans.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like you might get a core group of users who that's all they do is buy out the existing debt. Um, I don't know
Sure,
because
you can get like lending DAOs, something like that. Um, I've heard some rumblings about things out in the community, where a DAO might come in and act as lenders, right? Or a DAO might come in, and I've had some NFT projects use Alandia to bring in some algo into the project's ecosystem, build some more algo on that, and then that goes out to their holders or something along those lines. Um, there's really interesting ways to use this kind of peer-to-peer approach instead of Alandia being the lender.
so you've been building in tech for a long time. You've been building an and for a year, give or take, because I know Alandia didn't just like poof into existence. There was some legwork through I remember hearing about it in December. I think that it was being worked on.
Yep.
What advice do you have for people that are new to the space, or maybe have some Web 2 dev experience and are thinking, hey, I could build something cool on Algorand?
Yeah, what helped me a lot was when I got really into the NFT community on Algorand, right? I quickly built up a following on Twitter, quickly made some friends out there, and these are people that went on to make really cool things, like John from NFT, right? I talked to him a lot. Different people or whatever, right? So building those relationships and having people that you can go to and ask questions of is incredibly helpful. Visiting there's an Algorand developers Discord, so being on that is really helpful. Don't be afraid to ask advice, right? Or ask questions. As someone who came from Web 2 to Web 3, it's definitely a different way of thinking, right? And the people that have been here for a bit can help you make that transition easier, but you got to go kind of do the legwork to build those relationships. But yeah, those things, reading, right? There's lots of good resources on Algorand's website for developers. There's lots of good, and if you go and you look at stuff that's made for Ethereum developers or Solana developers or whoever, that stuff still can translate, right? It's a different language. It's a different blockchain, but Web3 is a Web3 idea. It's not a blockchain idea. It's not specific. It's what we're all striving to. So just find those resources, YouTube, videos from conferences, all that kind of stuff. Try to get to conferences. That's another big one. If you're anywhere near Denver, and I think it's February or March, right? There's ETH Denver, and it's free as far as I know. Going to those conferences again, making connections, and going to the developer side of things, those talks at those conferences, all that stuff you can do will help make that transition easier.
Congratulations on Alandia. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, we need this for DeFi, right? Like, we need peer-to-peer lending. And I don't know how you made it. I'm glad you did. It's only gotten better with time, like messaging, counter offers. I'm confident it's only going to get better and better. But I also think as the ecosystem grows, it's going to be a key part of a lot of DeFi portfolios, right? The peer-to-peer lending piece.
I hope so. People don't realize it, but the APR that you can make on a platform like Alandia is it's not an insignificant amount. In fact, it's better than a lot of the APR you're going to see on other platforms. It's also, there's more risk, but it's an interesting part of your potential portfolio. So yeah, I 100% agree. I think Alandia is going to keep growing.
I would argue it might be less risk, and obviously not financial advice. I'll pop it up. But if you like the NFT or you like the art, if it's a package that you really like and you're familiar with the terms, it seems like a win-win either way. And
absolutely. It's your approach, right? And that's a really good approach to take, as long as you're lending appropriately and making sure that you're protected as you can. And if you like the NFTs that are in the package period, yeah, there may not really be any downside to it. It's really about how you approach things.
I hope you'll come back and talk to me again soon. Because you're so busy, I don't bump into you as much as I used to in Discords and everywhere. But you have a Discord, you have the website, yep. You're around magically somehow to help if I mess up my password, which isn't a thing anymore. But like back in the day, there to help me reset my password. I just appreciate it, and I know a lot of people do. We're going to talk more about Alandia soon, though. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm always rooting for you. I love what you built. I think it empowers people, which is ultimately why I believe in Web3, and I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go.
Cool.
Better subscribe to the channel.